Political analyst Dr Metji Makgoba joins me now. Good evening and welcome. The party is asking itself the question of who does it exist for? At this moment in the party's history, against the backdrop of its own aspirations to evolve from revolutionary movement into mature politics, how would you define who it exists for?
I think the ANC is still stuck at the level of party politics because they haven't articulated a vision that can drive development in Limpopo, because you have heard Mathabatha in recent weeks spoke about on the concept on anti-corruption, and it should be a concern for many people that somebody who has already served 2 terms is already crying about corruption, which means that there's no anything that has been done to address the issues of corruption. So until the ANC start clearly defining itself as a political party that has a vision for South Africa, these conferences would be about individuals and their inspiration, rather than making sure that the ANC repositioned itself to serve the peoples of South Africa. At the moment, the conference in Limpopo actually has gone well because Mathabatha and his co have in the past managed to maintain some stability in the ANC. But in terms of driving development, they are still lacking because issues of unemployment, corruption, underdevelopment are still affecting the province. So there's a disconnect between party politics and the political vision that they claim to have for the province and the country in general.
I'll get back to that point in just a second, but I want to reflect on what Pule Mabe just told our reporter in Polokwane, that, you know, this conference or these types of conferences, these gatherings are caricaturized as being only about an election battle, the preponderance of power and who will survive. And he was saying that what they are keenly involved in is those policy discussions, and that really, constitutes the bulk of its work. What do you make about how much the value of that work actually has an impact in the way that the party presents, or at least what we see?
I think, to be honest, what's still happening in the ANC is the fact that it's all about influence and power dynamics between the individual within the structures of the ANC. With regard to policy and policy direction, the ANC is still outsourcing majority of its policy documents. The policies that are being implemented are not necessarily reflective of the vision that they claim to have. So what's happening really in the ANC? There's a disconnect within what the ANC claims for as a political party and what's really implemented at the level of state. So once policy discussions in the ANC are less stronger, it means the state is going to be less strong. And we need to work with what we have. Is the state, South Africa as a state, doing well for the citizens of this country? The answer is no, and that's where the results are, which suggests to us that policy discussions in the ANC are quite minimal. What we see is power play between individuals and how they can position themselves within the party, because if there was any factionalism that is based on ideology, the ANC should be a powerful organization. But what we see now, we only see factionalism that is based on individual ambitions for power. But what the ANC has learned to do in the past is that they know how to diagnose the problem, but the solution is always off the mark, because he's saying that our factional battles are about policy and ideology. But on the ground, and when you look at the work of the state, that is not true. Actually, these conferences are profoundly about individual influence and how they can maneuver power dynamics within the party in order to remain in power.
Let's come to the leadership outcomes then in Limpopo. Mathabatha in place, but eyeing a national leadership position after a 3rd round in the role. It seems natural that he wants something more.
Yeah, definitely. I think in terms of serving the ANC and maintaining power in the province, he has quite done well. And then, well, with the issue of looking for a national position, then what was he then looking to do in the province if he wants a national position? Will he then move to the national office while he's still a chairperson of the province, that doesn't naturally make sense, because I think he's trying to respond to people who are saying that he has overstayed in office and he needs to allow fresh ideas to come to the picture. And then because that message seems to have gained currency in the province, people have been calling him to say, you have served your 2 terms, please give others a chance. And then he continued to do. But now he feels like now just to reposition himself, he needs to say to us that actually somebody's going to take over. But I don't see that happening. I think the kind of peace he has had serving the ANC in Limpopo, he would still want to remain in that position. I don't see any movement that comes from him.
Okay, so let's look then, let's widen our aperture slightly. In light of the tumultuous fortunes of the ANC Youth League, the Women's League, the SACP and COSATU being weaker than before, and as they hold their own conferences later this year, we'll see where their vision lies. How do you see the path to the national conference playing out?
I think it's going to be very interesting because Ramaphosa's second term, it's not really set in motion. I think it's something that he's going to have to fight very hard. And I think these conferences have serious implications on the national conference, because he really needs to see how will his support come from. Will he manage to fight the fight back from the Red Forces? Because this is a president whose enemies are looking for a moment to capitalize or to frustrate his political agenda. So all these conferences, COSATU, SABC, their coherence in terms of supporting Ramaphosa this time is more important than ever, because Ramaphosa from a distance is weakened, because his mandate in the ANC is not well defined, because not all the voices in the ANC are saying he is eligible for a second term. They are still having reservations about his leadership, and considering at a broader level that the country has been suffering since he took office. So there are those people that have reservations, and I think if he is to get a second term, he will have to work very hard, because there is no clear message that his second term is secure.
Interesting months ahead. Thank you for your time and your analysis, Dr. Metji Makgoba. Appreciate you.